Madinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.
Ali, thank you so much for your help. You're a master. All right. There you go. And so apologize to everyone in attendance.
I owe a black belt today then, I guess.
There you go, right? Black belt in IT. Very good. All right. Again, I'll echo Ali's apologies for the late start, and again, thank him for his technical expertise. And so we won't waste any time. We'll get right into the presentation. This will be running for about a half an hour or so, and then I'll join you again, and we'll do questions and answers. So here we go.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Jim Bouchard. I increase engagement and productivity and develop leadership at all levels of your organization by teaching people how to think like a black belt. Today our focus is on how you can apply the time-honored characteristics and techniques of one of the world's oldest teaching traditions. Today I'm going to share my experiences as the sensei to help you engage your employees and inspire their highest levels of productivity and performance. In fact, today you'll become the sensei. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so I'll dive right in. Today's session centers on two fundamental questions. What are the keys to higher levels of engagement and productivity? And what role does the leader play in this process? Keep these questions in mind throughout the presentation as we explore what I call sensei leadership. Sensei leadership means embracing the role of teacher and mentor. It means assuring that others have the resources and training they need to reach their full potential. Most of all, sensei leadership means leadership by example. If you're going to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. You'll become a sensei leader by embracing the role of teacher, coach, and mentor, by providing your people with the support, encouragement, training, and resources they need to perform to their greatest potential, and by modeling the engagement, motivation, enthusiasm, and commitment to excellence you expect from others. As you'll hear throughout the program, if you're going to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk.
As Sun Tzu said long ago, a leader leads by example, not by force. Let's watch this short video. The Institute for Organization Development that blew my mind. They looked at a study of 200 companies by Stanford University and found that nearly 66% of CEOs do not receive coaching or leadership advice from outside consultants or coaches, while 100% of them stated that they're receptive to making changes based on feedback. Lonely at the top resonates for most CEOs. In regard to coaching and development, what do business leaders really want and need? One area really stood out. Another critical area of development for CEOs was mentoring skills and developing internal talent. Business leaders need to learn to be the sensei. Sensei is a Japanese term we usually use for martial arts instructors. It really means one who went before, and it represents a very symbiotic relationship between the master or the teacher and the student. The sensei does not do the work for the student. The sensei provides mentoring, coaching, and encouragement to help that student develop to his or her full potential. The tradition goes that the best sensei is one whose students exceed his talents, skills, and abilities. The article pointed out some other needs. Many CEOs identified the need for coaching to improve these competencies: sharing leadership, delegation, conflict management, team building, and mentoring. Every one of these competencies is a characteristic of the sensei. To be most effective, the sensei is always trying to understand the needs of the student. In turn, the student commits a full, sincere effort to master, learn, and apply the lessons taught by the sensei. The sensei just doesn't train his own martial arts skills. He's working continually to be a better mentor, coach, and teacher. Perfection is not a destination. It's a never-ending process. The authentic master, the real sensei, embraces this process. It's all about learning, growth, and development, no matter how high you are in rank, authority, or responsibility. True masters are always seeking out new opportunities for self-cultivation. They're always looking for new masters and teachers themselves. Even the sensei needs a sensei. One point in this article really bothered me. At the bottom were softer skills such as motivation, compassion, empathy, and persuasion. At the bottom, you don't lead process, you lead people. And sometimes people require a little compassion, empathy, and even persuasion. A sensei is a teacher, coach, and a mentor. But most of all, Sensei is a leader, someone who's able to develop willing followers. If you want to be an effective leader, be the sensei. If you want to be a sensei, find one and learn how. If you want people to be engaged, you have to engage them. That's the secret to
For
it.
the past 25 plus years, I've conducted a living experiment in my martial arts centers. I created our leadership team program to help young people develop leadership skills to make them effective instructors.
You see, the leader is someone who can attract willing followers, as opposed to the dictator who gains power through fear, force, or coercion.
As opposed to a dictator, someone who maintains power through fear, force, or coercion. Which person would you want to work for? Which would you work hardest for? The leader, the person who engages you on the level of your motivation, needs, and desires, or the dictator who focuses only on process, on command and control? The kids in my leadership program universally say they'd follow the leader. They may do what the dictator commands for a while, but they'll always be looking for a way out. The qualities they've consistently identified that distinguish a leader from a dictator are courage, compassion, and wisdom. Since we've developed this list, I've had the opportunity to meet and share these qualities with academics and leadership experts from all over the world. And I always ask them, what do you think of our top 3? They all say our kids did an amazing job. Wisdom from the mouths of babes. All of these qualities are important to a leader who wants to build genuine engagement with followers and inspire them to their highest levels of performance. Today our focus is on the most intimate of these qualities, the one that touches employees on a personal level, compassion. Here's another short video. According to a report by Chad Brooks on FoxBusiness.com, while they may be charged with leading their companies, business executives still have plenty of room for improvement when it comes to their leadership skills. And your study finds research from communications firm Ketchum revealed that just 34% of consumers worldwide view business chiefs as effective leaders, and only 35% believe they're effective communicators. It's interesting to point out that the title of this article was Employees Trusted More Than Managers. Leadership shouldn't be restricted to the top brass, but people at the top should certainly demonstrate the qualities of effective leadership. A leader is someone with the ability to attract willing followers, and perception of trust sure plays a part in that ability. In Think Like a Black Belt, I highlight 3 characteristics of an effective leader: courage, compassion, and wisdom. Today, let's focus on compassion. This is from Think Like a Black Belt. Compassion is the selfless quality of concern for others. Without compassion, a leader becomes a dictator. As a leader, power is your ability to act effectively, to help others realize true success and happiness. The greatest leaders have always placed their concerns for the welfare of others in equal, if not superior priority to their own benefit. The dictator crosses the line to where his own benefits outweigh those of the people who trust and follow him. To be effective, a leader must be perceived as placing the needs of followers as a top priority. And this perception is not always easy to maintain, especially when tough decisions have to be made. And it's not always fair to paint a leader as lacking in compassion when they have to make those tough decisions. But fortunately, perception is usually not based on an isolated incident unless the leader is disconnected from followers. That's why the study Brooks cites shows a correlation between communication skills and the effectiveness of a leader. Communication is a key expression of compassion and caring. If you care and you want people to know you care, then you've got to tell them. More important, you've got to show them that you're listening. You're listening to their needs, their concerns, and their priorities. Compassion is important internally and externally as an expression of your brand. Back to the article. In 2012, we found that leadership credibility hinged on a combination of open and transparent communication, decisive action, and the personal presence of the leader. With the crisis of leadership and communication continuing to have a direct commercial impact, our 2013 study shows that this formula for establishing meaningful, authentic leadership remains as robust as ever and will only grow in importance over the coming decade. And that trust is the mark of an effective leader. Compassion is so powerful in producing engagement because of all the qualities of effective leadership. Compassion is the one that shows that you understand and care about the success of your followers. Through compassion, you demonstrate your understanding of the motivations, needs, and desires of the people working for you and with you. There are many factors that contribute to engagement in the workplace, but nothing trumps an authentic connection between employees and leadership. If you want people to be engaged in your business, engage them at the most human level. Engage their minds and their hearts. In our next video, I'll talk about some remarkable research by Gallup and demonstrate clearly the power of compassion and the human connection for engagement and effective leadership. I call this full contact engagement.
Full contact engagement means a strong sense of purpose for everyone in your organization. Leadership at all levels, from the front lines to the C-suite. Clear and open lines of communication. Transparency and honesty at all times. It means connecting person to person and understanding what drives each individual. If you want people to be engaged, engage them. The good people at Gallup did an extensive study to identify the 12 strongest indicators that would reveal a person's potential engagement on the job. We don't need to complicate this. What the Gallup Q12 really shows is how important it is for management to practice good, sound leadership skills. The skills of the Sensei. If you want to cultivate a high level of engagement in your organization, be the Sensei. Let's take a look at the most important parts of the Q12. Items 1 through 7, then 11 and 12 are all about knowing, understanding, and then responding to the needs of your employees. Number 1, know what is expected of me at work. Number 2, I have what I need to do my job right. Number 3, at work, I have the opportunity to do my best every day. Number 4, in the last 7 days, I've received recognition or praise for doing good work. Number 5, my supervisor or someone at work seems to care about me as a person. Number 6, there's someone at work who encourages my development. Number 11, in the last 6 months, someone at work has talked to me about my progress. And number 12, this last year, I had opportunities at work to learn and grow. The Sensei embodies the quality of compassion, not in a patronizing sense or from a position of weakness, but compassion in the true sense of empathy and respect, knowing and responding to the genuine needs of the people you manage and lead. Questions 8 and 9 relate directly to the Sensei model of leadership. Number 8, the mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. Number 9, my associates or fellow employees are committed to doing quality work. The only factor you might not be able to influence is number 10, having a best friend at work. Gallup's 12 elements of great managing fit the model of Sensei leadership perfectly. Sensei literally means one who went before. If you want people to be engaged yourself, and be engaged with the people who work for you. People are always more engaged when they understand and buy in to a clear sense of purpose, embodied by leadership at all levels. If you're going to talk the talk, you'd better walk the walk. The Q12 clearly shows that engagement is directly proportional to management's understanding and response to the individual needs, goals, and ambitions of the employee. You want full engagement in your workplace? Practice full contact engagement. Be the Sensei.
I've been known to cause some trouble when I'm sharing these ideas, and one area where I get surprising resistance is my insistence on personal contact with employees. Do you have to sit down with every employee and ask them what really motivates them and what you can do to engage them and bring out their best work? Well, yes, you do. I wrote an article called "Don't Be an Undercover Boss." I've got to tell you, I feel like throwing things at my TV whenever I'm watching that show. How are so many business leaders completely surprised by what people are facing on the front lines? But how can I possibly expect the CEO of a big company to sit down and engage every single employee in the organization? Well, I don't. But I do suggest you engage some of them on a regular basis if you want them to be engaged with your company mission. The CEO might not be able to shake every hand, but every employee from the front lines to your C-suite should have genuine human interaction with the person he or she reports to. Sam Walton built the largest retail empire on earth by engaging his employees on a personal level. In his book, Made in America, he said, "We let folks know we're interested in them and that they're vital to us, because they are." While he was still running the company, he mandated that everyone in management spend time each year on the front lines to engage and fully understand what the frontline folks are living with and what motivates them to do their best work. I realize that the CEO with 10,000 employees can't sit down with each of them individually, but you can dedicate time to spend with a few of them on a regular basis. And you don't need to disguise yourself on a reality show to connect with the troops. You can build a culture of sincere interest and insist that supervisors spend time understanding the needs, desires, and motivations of the people directly in their care. Engagement is one of the products of Sensei leadership, and it works on a very simple principle. As Sun Tzu wrote, "Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look on them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death." Well, let's hope you don't have to take it that far. So let's summarize and develop some clear, actionable steps. What are you doing as a leader right now to engage the people working for you and provide an example for other leaders in your organization? Do you understand the personal drivers? What motivates and inspires each individual who works with you? Are you aware of individual purpose? Why is this person working for you? What personal meaning do they find in their work? An individual's purpose for working with you might be radically different than your organization purpose, and it's often much more personal. There's nothing wrong with that, but a strong alignment between organization purpose and the meaning the individual finds in his or her work is a key component in peak performance. What are their personal ambitions and goals? Do not leave this to chance or to assessments. You can't possibly align personal ambitions with organization needs if you don't know where any particular person wants to go and grow. Are you supporting each individual's goals with training, personal and professional development? Personal and professional development are inseparable. Each is an essential ingredient in cultivating peak performance and engagement. People follow examples much more enthusiastically than they do orders. If you want your people to be engaged with them, and be engaged yourself. Are you actively engaged in your own personal and professional development? Are you modeling the motivation, enthusiasm, and commitment to excellence that you expect from others? As I've been saying over and over again, if you're going to talk the talk, you've got to walk the walk. This entire seminar can be summarized by one statement. If you want to build a more powerful, more effective business, develop more powerful, more effective people. There's a human being behind every process, every system, every piece of equipment in your business. You want to be a more effective leader? You want to make your business better? You want an engaged and productive workforce? Give them the opportunity to develop and grow as people. Stronger people build stronger businesses. Harvard Business Review recently published a powerful article on the deliberately developmental organization. Adopt this model of Sensei leadership, and that's exactly what you'll build. That HBR article inspired our next video.
There's an emerging model for business success, the deliberately developmental organization. This from Harvard Business Review. These companies operate on the foundational assumptions that adults can grow, but not only is attention to the bottom line and the personal growth of all employees desirable, but the two are interdependent, that both profitability and individual development rely on structures that are built into every aspect of how the company operates, and that people grow through the proper combination of challenge and support, which includes recognizing and transcending their blind spots, limitations, and internal resistance to change. Personal development and professional performance are inseparable. The Harvard Business Review article, Making Business Personal from April 2014, highlights two remarkable companies that embrace this principle. It's time for more organizations to get on board. Over my 25 years plus of teaching martial arts, and now about 10 years sharing these ideas with the business community, many people have told me that learning to think like a black belt has opened up new levels of personal and professional achievement. Why? It's certainly not the kicking and punching. It's that combination of challenge and support emphasized in the HBR article. People grow in direct response to challenge. Ability, skill, talent, competency all expand proportionately to the challenges and the opportunities available. With the right cultivation, development, and support, these qualities grow exponentially. Supportive, nourishing leadership is essential to this process. You also need to develop a culture that encourages and supports learning, growth, and development at all levels. The HBR article continues. Every job should be like a tow rope, so that as you grab hold of the job, the very process of doing the work pulls you up the mountain. This means a culture where risk is encouraged, in the sense that you're willing to expand your capabilities by embracing new challenges. The risk to the organization is that sometimes, despite your best efforts, people will fail. And some people will simply want to protect their reputations or their current standing. That instinct towards self-preservation, while natural, is counterproductive if you're trying to build an innovative, dynamic, and responsive organization to an extent that we ourselves are only beginning to appreciate. Most people at work, even in high-performing organizations, divert considerable energy every day to a second job that no one has hired them to do, preserving their reputations, putting their best selves forward, and hiding their inadequacies from others and themselves. Pay close attention to this next statement. We believe this is the greatest source of wasted resources in nearly every company today. A master is never finished, never completely satisfied. The process of mastery demands constant introspection, a willingness to accept sincere and productive criticism, an enthusiasm for accepting new challenges, new opportunities for growth, and the courage to risk failure in pursuit of greater achievement. This mindset of mastery is key to developing that deliberately developmental organization. Cultivate this mindset for each individual, from leadership to the front lines, and collectively as part of your company culture. Many years before Harvard Business Review studied this issue, Lao Tzu said, "Cultivate the inner self, its power becomes real. Cultivate the community, its power becomes greater. Cultivate the organization, its power becomes prolific." Develop the individual. Provide personal as well as professional development. Make your people more powerful. They'll make your business more powerful. And that's how you build a deliberately developmental organization.
As you heard in that video, what we're really talking about is power, your ability or capacity to act or perform effectively. Power only expands through sharing. The most effective leader embraces the idea that to expand your own power, to reach higher levels of performance and achievement, you've got to help your followers become more powerful. And as we've seen throughout this program, helping someone expand their own power and purpose is one of the most effective ways to engage and motivate the people who make your business work. That's why I always say to my clients, I don't make your business better. I make your people better. They'll make your business better. Before we wrap things up, I want to revisit the idea of empowering people to fail successfully. Of course, you don't want people to repeat stupid mistakes or take foolish, uncalculated risks. But having said that, innovation is a constant process of testing, failure, learning, and correction until you produce a success. Or to look at it another way, it's like Thomas Edison said when he was questioned about the incredible amount of failed attempts in developing a workable electric light. He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." In the dojo, we know that in order to grow and develop to his or her full potential, we've got to provide the opportunity for the student to try and sometimes fail. In fact, if the student isn't failing once in a while, they're not really pushing the envelope. They're not really discovering their true potential or expanding their limitations. The sensei is there to guide the process, to provide the student with the resources necessary for growth and development, to provide an example, and sometimes to encourage when the going gets tough. Now let's bring it all together. As the sensei leader, you understand that productive people are engaged people, and that it's your role as the leader to actively engage your followers and employees. You engage by developing a clear sense of purpose for the organization and sharing that purpose with enthusiasm and clarity. You maintain open lines of communication, and you constantly seek to understand each individual's purpose, both in relation to his or her role in your organization and personally. You walk the walk and provide a living example of the drive, motivation, engagement, and commitment to excellence you expect from others. You embrace the ideal that continual improvement is essential in cultivating an engaged and productive individual and an effective organization. You provide the training, guidance, and mentoring they need to learn and grow, personally and professionally. And you lead by sharing. You constantly demonstrate genuine compassion for your people by providing them with the power, resources, and autonomy they need and want to perform to their best capabilities. You understand, as Tom Peters famously wrote, that leaders don't create followers, they create more leaders. As a Sensei leader, you understand that leadership should not be restricted to those with authority, title, or position. Sometimes your most effective leaders work on the front lines.
Titles, diplomas, and certificates don't make a leader. Courage, compassion, and wisdom do, at every level. Part of the mindset gap we have today is the tendency to think that only leaders can lead. Look, a leader is the person who's willing to step up and do what it takes, whether you're on the front lines or in the corner office. I always think of those old World War II movies where that grizzled old sergeant has to step up and save the green lieutenant, because the lieutenant has the authority, but not the experience to lead his men in battle. Leadership is a mindset. It's your ability to see what needs to be done and do it. It means having the courage to step up first without waiting for orders. It's your willingness to share your knowledge, experience, and wisdom with others, no matter what your rank. Effective leadership is not the product of some 10-step leadership training program. You don't come back from a weekend retreat with a cadre of freshly minted leaders. Genuine leadership is the result of a mindset that must be cultivated, developed, nurtured, practiced, and encouraged at every level of your organization. Your most effective leaders are those people who do without being told. They ask before they're asked. They coach and mentor the people around them. And most of all, they model the behavior you expect in others. A long time ago, Lao Tzu said, a leader is best when the people barely know he exists. That type of leader might be right in front of you or right beside you.
Be an engaged leader, and you'll develop engaged employees. Develop powerful people, leaders at all levels, and you'll build a powerful organization. I'd like to thank the wonderful team at the Madinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship for inviting me to share my ideas with you. Please accept my sincere gratitude. And I'd like to thank all of you for attending today. I certainly hope you'll find these ideas useful and you'll put them to work in your organization today. Now, what questions do you have?
Well, thank you very much, Jim, for a very intriguing presentation. And yeah, Jim, I'm just going to request the audience, if you have any questions, you could either put it in the question box or you could raise your hand, and I'll be happy to give you an opportunity to speak to Jim. So either put it in the question box. I see there are a couple of questions. So let me go. Jim, the first question, in your view, what is the most common hindrance for leaders not to be compassionate? Is it their ego or perception of being a big boss?
You know, that's a very difficult question because, as we said throughout the presentation, everyone has, it's an individual process, and I think that's what makes leadership so difficult today. If, you know, depending who you talk to in academia, there's between 8 and 10 recognized leadership models, right, or leadership methodologies. And one of the things that we're coming to understand today, and it was very well articulated by General McChrystal recently, is that, you know, to work together, especially around the globe with different people, different cultures, it's not a matter of adapting one of these methodologies. It's to have some skills, some techniques, as the sensei would, as a martial artist would, and be able to apply what's appropriate in each situation. So it's no different when you're asking about what gets in the way, and I like that question, what gets in the way as far as compassion goes. Yes, it could be ego. It certainly could be. But it could also be a very well-intended sense of responsibility. one of the things that we keep seeing in the research that's very difficult for leaders to operate with is that sense of delegation. You know you have that responsibility, and if it's very well defined, it's very difficult for you to abdicate some of your responsibilities to others. But these are all the things that we need to do as leaders in order to help the people around us grow. And if we don't help the people around us grow, well, then you're going to get very busy, because no one of us can do everything by ourselves. So the short answer to summarize that would be, yes, it can be a sense of ego, but it could just as easily be a very well-intended and well-developed sense of responsibility, too. The trick is just to identify that and then work with it so that you can get it back in balance.
Okay, thank you very much. Another quick, short question. How realistic is the approach to humanly be aware of individuals' purpose in a large organization?
It's extremely difficult. And that's why I emphasize that, do I expect the CEO of a major corporation to sit one-on-one with everybody in that organization? That could be tens of thousands of people. So in a sense, in a very spiritual sense, I would say, yes, I do expect them to, but through the other people that they cultivate, the other leaders that they cultivate in their organization. The trick is to instill the type of culture where everybody has access to their direct supervisor, right, to the person that they're answering to. And if those people are accessible and understand the individual needs of the people who are working for them, that's how you can best align that individual sense of purpose and mission with the organization. And really, that's where the return on investment is, isn't it? Because what we're talking about, really, the end game, the outcome here, let's be honest about it, is to help people become more productive, to help your organization become more productive and more powerful. And that can only be done to its maximum effect when the individual's sense of purpose is aligned with, to as much a degree as reasonable, with the sense of purpose of the organization. So rather than the CEO visiting everybody, if you've got lots and lots of employees, it's important for you to instill that sense of culture throughout the organization, so everyone has access to the person they report to.
Okay, and we have another last question in the question box. How should one, as a leader, give feedback to his subordinate about his unsatisfactory performance without compromising compassion?
That's the million-dollar question, because people confuse compassion sometimes with weakness. And compassion is not weakness. Some years ago, when I was running a martial arts organization, about 5 schools, we were in negotiations over a lease on one of the buildings that we operated in. And one of my instructors who was working with me on that negotiation with the landlord noticed that I was giving some ground to the landlord. I recognized that he needed some validation in certain areas for us to come to a good agreement. Afterwards, he realized what I was doing, and he gave me this wonderful, wonderful saying. I don't know where this saying originated, but he said, "Jim, this about sums you up at this point." He said, "Never mistake my kindness for weakness, nor my silence for ignorance." And I was so flattered by that, and I've always taken that with me. It takes a great deal of strength to recognize the other person's needs and desires, and that doesn't matter if you're in a business negotiation, or again, as we're talking about today, trying to engage your employees as a leader. That sense of compassion, so often confused with that sense of weakness, and sometimes even with kindness. Compassion is not necessarily kindness. When you need to approach somebody about poor performance, when you need to talk to somebody about a deficiency, then the greatest act of compassion is to approach them directly and honestly and help them with some guidance as to how they can improve. Now, the responsibility for the response is completely on that other person's side. If the employee is not willing to step up and do what's necessary, then you've reached an impasse. That person shouldn't be working for you. But the compassion part of it is giving that person the opportunity. And you have to do that honestly. Believe me, when we're teaching self-defense, we don't beat around the bush too much and say, hey, that was a pretty good punch that might have got, if someone is doing something that may get them killed or injured, you have to be blunt. You go right to them and you say, look, that's wrong. Here's how to correct it. And you could add, if you'd want, and I'm telling you this because I love you, because I want you to succeed. And I think that's one of the areas where we can learn as leaders to express express that. And I think all the greatest leaders, the greatest examples of leadership that we can find in the world, in business or in politics or anywhere else, those are those people who understood that as a leader, the people following don't always need the order, the command, the direction. Sometimes they need an arm around their shoulder. Sometimes they need a listening ear and an open heart and an open mind.
Okay, we have a caller. It's our regular caller, Dr. Faridi. It's Dr. Mohammed Faridi. Sir, could you please ask the question?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Jim, for a wonderful presentation. And I could feel that you were trying to synergize between your martial arts with the business. And to add up to it, I think there has to be a very collaborative approach where we have to see that it's not a defeat and win for someone. It has to be a win-win approach, you know. And while the coach and mentors, the leader should not just point out the weakness, but that weakness they should turn in and try to make them into opportunities for the employee that will be maintaining their level of motivation and engagement. And in fact, the development, the growth of individuals will definitely rebound and increase, and it will be absolutely organization growth. So individual emphasis on the individual growth and development is important, which definitely will be on a macro level helping the organization growth. And definitely all these things will definitely have more powerful and authentic leadership. Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation.
Well, thank you so much for that comment. Yes, we're singing in perfect harmony, and I think that sometimes what causes people to be hesitant about this, and one of the questions brought this up earlier, was that idea that somehow if we make individuals strong around us, that it somehow weakens or compromises our position. One of the videos that I showed talked about that Gallup study that highlighted that people want to sometimes protect their reputations, or we could say they want to protect their ego self more than they want to buy into the mission of the organization. So no, I think we're singing in perfect harmony. I really thank you for your thoughts. I believe if we build powerful individuals and we keep everybody in the right direction, then yes, the organization grows exponentially. Of course, I didn't make that up. That old quotation from Sensei, Lao Tzu for that one actually said that very, very nicely.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Mohammed Faridi, as usual, for your calls and questions, interesting questions. Well, that really brings us towards the end of the webinar, and I understand that people are also interested on tonight's, the real match between Brazil and Germany, which is going to be started in about 10 minutes from now. So, well, I really want to thank you, Jim, for a very wonderful presentation and for illustrating the content in a very professional manner. So any concluding remarks that you would like to give before we dismiss out?
Ali, from my heart, thank you so much, and thank you everybody who stuck around and participated, because sometimes we can't control the electrons, right? And so thank you very much, Ali, for your help and for making this possible. I was about ready to give up. I thought we weren't going to get this going today, and it's only through your efforts that this was able to happen. So from my deepest part of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and you equally reciprocated very well online. So we really thank you, and thank you very much, and thank you all of those who participated in this webinar. So you all have a good day, good afternoon.
Madinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.